Hi, I'm Phil Doleman and I'm here to show you this, which is the Romero Creations Tiny Tenor, and this is the mahogany version. So why a tiny tenor? Well, it's a tenor scale instrument. However, if I show it in comparison to my concert uke here, and I put them both on my lap level at the bottom, you'll see that they're actually pretty much exactly the same size. In fact, the concert is slightly longer than this. So what's the point of that? Well, Daniel Ho went to Pepe Romero and worked with him, who's the luthier, worked with him to build an instrument that was a tenor scale for performing with, but was nice and compact for him travelling around. It goes in a gig bag, it goes on his back, and it's much, much easier to travel around with a concert than a tenor. It's a small thing, but if you travel a lot, it can make a big difference. However, even though it's a full-scale tenor instrument and the length of a concert, it still sounds very much like a full tenor instrument. So that's been achieved by, well, the short length is obviously this very distinctive short headstock. The bridge is quite close to the end of the body here, and it's almost like the body's been squashed that way, so it's got wider this way. So there's still an awful lot of volume, space in this body to create the tone and support the tone. This kind of soft triangle body is very reminiscent of a pineapple uke. It's kind of a stylised pineapple uke. So it's not that untraditional. We see a lot of very old pineapple ukes knocking around. I think it's quite a clever way of maximising the sound box when you've got to make it shorter. This one is all solid mahogany, and I mentioned Pepe Romero. This is a Romero Creations instrument which he designs and has made in a factory in Vietnam. And I have noticed a couple of other reviewers saying how impressed they've been with the quality of instruments coming out of Vietnam lately. I've got to say, I'm also very impressed with the build quality of this. So let's have a quick run over and a quick play of it. It's all solid mahogany, which, if you can see without the reflection of my camera, is really, really nice and stripy, lovely colour. Same on the back. It's got two pieces to make up the sides, which are joined at the end. You won't see this on camera, but there's a really nice, sometimes they're just buttered together at the end, but this has got a lovely little, very narrow end graft. Very, very neatly done. And it's one of those things when I see it that makes me think, attention to detail. The same thing caught my eye with the back. Little heel cap here in rosewood. Nice little attention to detail. It's very slightly deeper at this end than here, but not too dramatic, and there is a very, very slight curve on the back, but it's hardly noticeable. We have an abalone inlaid sound hole ring, which is very nicely done, rather pretty, with a black line either side of it. We have a rosewood bridge, which is the string through type, so you literally poke your string in the hole, it curves around, pops up through the sound hole, you tie a knot and you pull it back again. It's very elegant to look at, it's very neat, but also it means that the string is not just pulling on the bridge. And sometimes ukes do fail, bridges do pop off if they're not attached very, very firmly when the strings are just pulling on the bridge. And of course this one can't do that because the strings are all the way through the other side of the bridge plate underneath here, and they're pulling on the whole top, not just on the bridge. Very nicely done with a compensated saddle. The neck, also made of mahogany. It's a one-piece neck, so sometimes you get them stacked up at the heel here out of several pieces of wood and joined here. Nothing wrong with that. It saves money. It also saves wood, which is always good. But this one is a one-piece neck, so some people look for that kind of thing as maybe a mark of a higher quality instrument. Rosewood faceplate on this lovely little tiny headstock with this nice swoop in the top. And I suppose people would think, well, you could chop those little pointy bits off and get an even shorter instrument. But of course, then when these are turned sideways, these tuners, it will be easy to knock them. So these are almost like a nice little protection for the tuning pegs to stop you accidentally knocking it out of tune. And I think this looks quite elegant. Onto those tuners, they are sealed geared units. You won't see them because they're black. They have very, very small round, if I get down very close you'll see, round pegs on them, and those pegs are actually made of ebony rather than the black plated metal, which is nice. Another nice little touch. They're very, very small and elegant. And I think the design of this uke means that things like that maybe are a little non-traditional don't look bad at all, because it's not trying to follow a traditional pattern. I think they look very elegant. They certainly work very well. What else can I tell you? Well, it's strung up with a low G, which I'm not really used to, but it's been fun getting used to a low G. I don't use one as a rule. The setup is beautiful. Lovely low action. It rings out really nicely. The compensator saddle means the intonation is absolutely spot on. I've checked it with an electronic clip-on tuner, and it is really very, very good. It's spot on as far as the accuracy of my tuner goes, which is probably more accurate than most people's ears. So there you go. The low G, see, I'm not really much of a low G fan, and what I often find in instruments is a low G dominates the sound, and it can either be very loud and brash and cover up the other strings, so when you're sitting next to someone strumming one it's a bit over the top, or it's a bit woolly and unresponsive and you can't really tell what note's being played on it because it's just kind of flapping around. And I don't know if it's this body shape, but this one handles the low G perfectly. Unsurprising, because Daniel Ho helped design it, and Daniel Ho plays with the low G. But if I strum with it, see, that's ringing out as an open string on all of those two, and then fretted. You can hear it, it fills out the sound, but it doesn't dominate at all. This is a wound low G, by the way. If I pick with it, it's got a very nice punchiness, but not thin and twangy like an elastic band on a shoebox, which sometimes they, especially when it's a smaller uke, you can get that with a low fourth. Very nice and punchy and responsive, but still supported. It's got that low frequency underneath it. It's very nice and rounded. Very, very nice to play, and very, very nice, snappy, punchy, immediate kind of responsive sound. That's the Tiny Tenor from Romero Creations. If you want to check out this very one, it will be winging its way back to Southern Ukulele Store very soon. You can go down there and try it out. I think don't dismiss it because it doesn't look very traditional. It's a really, really nice uke, very, very well made, and I think it's worthy of consideration if you're in the market for a solid mahogany tenor. I hope to see you soon, and I hope you enjoyed it. Bye now.